Uh-oh. Somebody's having a hard time and they're removed. Oh, well. Um, so when we're doing these meetings, embrace curiosity. This is just a few rules about being here. Embrace curiosity. Really, this is an opportunity for you to learn. If you have a question, please raise your hand and speak up. We want to help you understand, be comfortable here, and also help your community to advance. Take space, make space. And that just means be mindful of the amount of time that you're speaking. That we've got, how many other folks here? We've got 21 folks in the room. We want to give each one of them an opportunity to speak if so led. We're all figuring this stuff out. It's all new. A lot of, dealing with coming out of the pandemic. Some of you might be new to Main Street. Just be mindful of that. And then just stay connected. This is, like I said, an opportunity to develop new relationships, find the answers that you're looking for. We can all help you with that. So with that, let's do this quickly. Let's just move through the crew here and so we see who we have in the room. Just need to say your name and where you're from. And I'm going to go by my list, not necessarily the pictures that are here. So let's see, first on my list, it's alphabetical, so you might know when you're coming up. Andrew Morris.
Hey, good morning. Andrew Morris. I'm a town manager in Floyd, Virginia.
All right. Floyd is crushing it. You guys are awesome. I love your community.
Thank you.
How about BT?
Hey, Kyle. Hey, everybody. This is BT. I am the town manager in Boones Mill, Virginia. We're in Franklin County, just south of Roanoke.
Boones Mill. We've done some projects there, I'm sure of it. We've got Blair, so one of our new co-workers.
Good morning. I feel like you introduced me.
This is a little bit of an introduction too for you, Blair. Yeah, Blair just joined us, part of the Virginia Main Street crew. So welcome, Blair. And Blair, you're here in Richmond, right?
That is correct, yes.
That is correct, good. How about Blake?
Hello, everyone. I am a business owner and resident in Norton, Virginia, way down there.
All right. I love that we have Southwest represented here. This is great. Next on my list, Karina, another new co-worker.
Good morning. I am Karina DeRoche, and I am actually just relocating from North Carolina, but I am here in Richmond.
Thank you. Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney Maley. I'm with Virginia Main Street, and I'm the acting program manager.
We love Courtney. Thank you for being here. Denise.
Good morning. Denise Barksdale, assistant manager with the town of Halifax.
Denise in Halifax. And Halifax is a neighbor of South Boston in Southern Virginia.
Yes.
Welcome.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah. Gabrielle.
Gabriel Christofari, town planner for the town of Abington. We're in Washington County.
Oh, welcome. And then we have Janet, and Janet will be talking later on. So,
hi, y'all. I'm Janet Falsky, president of Onancock Main Street on Virginia's Eastern Shore.
Thank you. Jenny.
Hi, my name is Jenny Gaiman, and I'm program manager of Onancock Main Street on the Eastern Shore where crab cakes rain.
Oh, you saved yourself. Nice save. That's right. Laura. Laura Dow. We can come back to you. How about Leslie Crawford?
Hey y'all, it's Leslie Crawford here. I'm in Gate City, Virginia, and I am the new executive director for Gate City Frontier. I've got my camera off today because I'm currently in my car and my child is in the back seat. So
be safe, Leslie. We're so glad you're here representing Gate City. How about Mary Sands?
Yes, hi, this is Mary. I spoke earlier. I'm the town clerk for the town of Drex Branch in Charlotte County, Virginia.
That's right. Thank you, Mary.
Thank
and
you.
Then Maggie Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Maggie Roach, and I'm the Economic Development Coordinator for the town of Dayton.
Dayton, just outside of Harrisonburg, right? Just west.
Yep.
Excellent. Let's see, who's next? Nicole? Got another new
Hi.
coworker?
Yes, Nicole Childress. I am coming to you from Smith County, Virginia, but I am going to be a program admin for Southwest Virginia, for Virginia Main Street.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got a lot of folks on here to connect with eventually. Roy. Roy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Here.
Hey, Roy.
I'm the zoning manager in Urbana, Virginia.
Yay. Thanks for joining us, Roy.
Thanks
And
for
we got,
having
yeah, Sergey, is your mic working now?
Hopefully. Petersburg.
Thank you, Sergey. So, it sounds like you're having some connectivity challenges. That was a little broken up, but hopefully that will resolve later on in the meeting. And we can do some follow-up with you too if it continues. And then Tom.
Hi, this is Tom Roberts. I'm with the City of Buena Vista.
Yay. Well, I like we've got a good spread today of exploring Main Street communities from across Virginia. So welcome. All right, so let's get into some content here. And I'm sliding back and forth between screens here. And I got to click on the right one. So just a few announcements. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this. Right now, if you applied for a community vitality grant, so as an Exploring Main Street community, you have access to that. Those grant rounds open up in January. This year it closed in mid-April. So because of the national conference, we're a little delayed in finishing them up, but they've been reviewed. We're putting the briefing package together to go to the governor. So we'll be making announcements about those soon. So get ready. We also have a Virginia Main Street webinar coming up called Make Every Communication Count. This is really about your organizational communications and the best way to do it, recognizing your audience and how to craft your messages and create a dialogue and build your donor and volunteer base, or just involvement in your program. The Industrial Revitalization Fund, so that is one of our grant products to fund construction, rehabilitation of an underutilized commercial building. A small percentage of that could be, let's see, commercial and residential, so it can be mixed use. So just let you know about that. That grant application is due on August 19th. Then Exploring Main Street Community Interchange, the next one, just put it out there, September 22nd, same time at 11. I'm in the midst of updating our Community Revitalization Office calendar of events. So this is semi-accurate. There's a few little changes on there that will get changed as soon as Zachary is back in the office, so that we can get that polished and presentable. Just to let you know, we're no longer the Community Revitalization Office. We're the Community Vitality Office. So that will change to CVO calendar of events. And then a new resource, and I keep throwing this out here because they continue to add some amazing trainings. They're little modules around nonprofit growth and capacity building. So nonprofitready.org, a lot of wonderful resources that are there. So put that in a bookmark position on your favorites bar and go there whenever you need it. It is really a wonderful resource. So with that, I'm just doing a little lead up to hear from Onancock. We're part of a national network of communities through Main Street America, and that's a program run by the National Main Street Center. So this is you're part of a national movement by participating here. And so if you're not a member, it's not required as Exploring Main Street, but it is an additional layer of services, resources, and so forth to make your job a lot easier in figuring out what you need to do in order to get some traction in revitalizing your community. So we highly recommend it, but it isn't required. It is a very valuable investment. We are a coordinating program of Main Street America. So we're a state coordinating program. So Virginia Main Street deploys these Main Street resources across the Commonwealth. And within that, we've got three tiers of programs. We've got 28 Advancing Virginia Main Street Communities. That's a competitive application to participate because there is a standard. The National Main Street Center has their accredited Main Street America community standards. So just keep that in mind. We'll have some news about that later on this summer. You all are part of a network of exploring Main Street communities, and this is an opportunity to dip your toes in the water and put as much into exploring Main Street and advancing a local program or your revitalization efforts, your economic development efforts in your district, as much as you want. So that was formerly the Commercial District Affiliate Program. Probably getting away from that now. It's been a couple of years, might not be necessary. And then we have a Mobilizing Main Street program, which is mid-tier to get you ready for designation or for larger communities that are beyond our population of our program guidelines. So the bigger cities. It's a way for them to tinker with Main Street and figure out if they can get a neighborhood commercial district program.
For it.
Uh-oh, Harry, you need to mute.
Because
let's see. I will do it. Let's see. There we go. All right. Thanks for joining us, Harry. Okay, with that, I would like to invite Janet to unmute. Janet Foskey is the board president of Onancock Main Street. She is a fearless leader that has helped bring a nonprofit organization into existence and help to program it for impacts within their Main Street district. They've done a great job. They have been very thoughtful, incremental in how they embrace strategy and influence change. So I'm excited to have her here to talk to you. And just to let you know, Onancock is only a population of about 1,000. Am I right, Janet? And I'll hand it off to you.
That's right. We're a little bitty town on the Eastern Shore. We're in the center of the Eastern Shore of Virginia. Y'all have probably heard of Cape Charles at the southern end and Chincoteague with the ponies at the northern end of Virginia's Eastern Shore. And we're situated right between them. So we're a year-round community where they are, summer and shoulder season communities and are very, very quiet in the winter. So we have kind of a different demographic and a different focus for tourism. And all of that feeds into our goals and our strategies. When we started out, there were just 4 of us whose paths, 4 women whose paths kept crossing while we were working on various projects in Onancock, civic projects. And we kept talking about how we were observing that Onancock could benefit from more coordination with promotion and marketing and the civic projects across all these different organizations and stakeholders. And we didn't quite know how to find a model that would work. And one of us was a town council member, not I. And she went off to the 2017 Virginia Main Street Conference and came back fired up and said, "I found it, ladies. This is the model." And she was so excited and told us so much about it so quickly that we just jumped on board and said, this sounds like exactly what we've been needing to help us help the town. So that's how we got started. I know there's a lot of different ways that each of you will find your way to Main Street, but that's the Onancock story. So we started by talking to Virginia Main Street and were given the gift of Kyle, and he started guiding us and telling us how to get started and what we need to do first. And of course, it's community engagement and assessment and finding out really who we are through the eyes of our community, because the last thing we wanted to be seen as was a group of 4 women whose only opinions counted. So we can go to next slide, Kyle. So we started with crafting a community survey. So we had started talking to Kyle in 2017, and in early 2018, we crafted the community survey and got that out on SurveyMonkey and in paper in every restaurant and bed and breakfast and small hotel that were within reach. We were going to any event that any other organization had in town that summer and making sure that we had a table, getting people to fill this out. We used that to, and if anybody is interested in this, because we had help from other communities where we said, you know, how did you get this? And they sent us their surveys and we honed it and created ours. If anyone wants a version of ours, all you have to do is email Jenny, our program manager, at Onancock Main Street at Gmail. Just spell it all out, Onancock Main Street at Gmail. And she will send you a copy of it. So you've got a starting point. So if you want to go to the next slide, Kyle, what we did at the end of that summer was we used that feedback, and by then we had quite a bit, and we honed it down to the most important. So you can kind of see from this thought cloud, we were able to kind of get an idea of where most people were focusing. And if you go to the next slide, we then used that to create, so there are those thought clouds on a wall. We set up a space and we invited the community, and we were lucky to have a lot of promotion from the local newspaper. And so a lot of people showed up, and we had different interactive ways for them to express themselves. So we had hosted tables with a particular topic on each one. They had the wall that they could write on. We even gave each person a ping pong ball when they walked in, because we had about 6 major concerns that kept cropping up, and we wanted them to drop a ping pong ball in the cylinder that they felt was the most important concern. So at the end of the night, we very quickly could see what the 2 were that group felt was most important. One of them was that we needed public Wi-Fi, and the other was that they were concerned about the empty buildings. So it's very easy then, when you've got that much community input, to start working on your mission and vision. If you go to the next slide, Kyle, you'll see one of the tables where we ask community members to host the table and help keep people focused on the question at that table. And they would rotate between the tables, but they also had paper on them they could write on. So we've got a library of giant paper now that we refer back to if we need to. But it's also nice because if we have another event, it sort of inspires people to get going. Sometimes they'll see a comment and just put a check by it, like, yes, I agree with that. So next slide. We ended up using the rest of that year to craft our mission and vision and goals, and to start putting it in the first of 2020, in 2019, I'm sorry, putting in place our nonprofit status, applying for that, presenting the strategies and the mission to the town publicly at a town council meeting. I'm trying to think what else we did. I think we're ready for the next slide. We also applied for our first tourism grant, which required us to partner for the first time with community partners, which was nice. And we used those monies to start our first business support through a holiday Fab Fridays promotion. So we determined early on that we did not want to become an event organization, just putting on events to bring vitality to the town. We really didn't need to because we have the luxury of having a previously formed organization, the Onancock Business and Civic Association, and they have sort of morphed into the events organization, and they do great things throughout the year. They have Friday, once a month, art strolls where they close the street and have music. They have an ice cream social for the 4th of July, holiday open house tours. So we really didn't need to do that. And we can capitalize that and amplify their works. And this was one of those where we sort of partnered with them and then worked with the businesses to try to bring more people in on the 4 holiday Fridays. Let me double check my notes. So at this point, Kyle kind of mentioned to us that he thought we were well structured enough to apply for our designation as a Main Street community. And I can't stress how valuable that was because it's sort of hard to self-recognize that. So we trusted Kyle and we started the work of putting together the data. And this is it's a big application. I won't fool you. We divided it up amongst ourselves. By then we brought on a 5th board member who was great with numbers and money. And we did have one private donation that buoyed us up and sort of sustained us while we were getting our legs under us, which was great help. And the town began to support us because that's a requirement of the designation application. So they were starting to see our value, and I happened to be married to the mayor. That didn't hurt. And we gained some support from the town. So we did that work, and this is a picture of some of our board members standing in my front yard celebrating the submission of that application in March of 2020. Of course, we're distancing. We haven't all been told to wear masks yet, but everybody brought their own drink, and we had a giant phew. It's in, and we can, keep our fingers crossed for as long as it takes that we get it. So we sailed into COVID with this, waiting on this and trying to figure out how to be an effective organization in COVID. You all won't have to struggle with that, and congratulations to you because it was a challenge. We did continue trying to help promote the Fab Fridays that following holiday season. We also applied at Kyle's recommendation, and you probably have a different thing now, Kyle, since you don't do affiliate anymore. But we applied for an affiliate grant, which we did get, and Kyle suggested that we use it as a vehicle to get a new brand for the town. So next slide, please.
And we do have that grant still available. That's the Community Vitality Grant that I was referring to earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a very big deal. It was another wonderful way to involve, and we did it virtually, but involve select members from the town. We made sure we had a wide representation of business and residents and, people that sort of understood the value of a good town brand. We were chartered by the King in 1680. And so we're coming up on our 350th anniversary. So that spoke, to that. And we were lucky enough to, the word got out that that we had funding for a brand, and we have a rather high-powered Norfolk marketing firm owners who have a second house in Onancock. So they approached us and said they wanted to help. And so we did have some pro bono work from them, which was great. This is the result. On the right, you can see the in-market and out-market versions. And then they also came up with a tagline, which is Onancock, a little slice of nowhere else, which we love because we think we're very unique. One of the first applications for the brand was on the water tower that they were painting. So it's been embraced by the town, and you see it all over now. And it's so much better than what we did have, which was Onancock Live It, Love It, which had been cooked up in a back room by a couple of janitors real fast when we needed it for some grant application about 10 years ago. So now we feel real good about what we have, and we feel it represents us really well. So we accomplished that while we were waiting for designation, and then we did hear, you can go to the next slide. This is the brand launch with the board and the mayor and the town manager and the representatives from the marketing firm. And we did that at one of the Fab Fridays that the OBCA puts on once a month. You can go to the next slide. Another thing that we did early on in COVID was decide that maybe we could initiate partnerships with the town and the Onancock Business and Civic Association and try to thank the essential workers. So we did that. It was a nice way for us to get our name sort of paired with two of our main partners at the bottom of the sign. And we refreshed that about 4 months later with another message just to keep things going, and the partners pitched in again. So one of the few ways that we tried to keep ourselves relevant during COVID. Next sign. So we received our designation at the end of 2020, and within a couple of months had an emergency and called Kyle because we were hearing rumblings that a building that is at the dead center of our town, the center of our town is one intersection, and you'll hear this when you go to conferences. It's referred to as the 100% corner. And this is the largest building in town, and it sits at the T intersection of that intersection, and it had been vacant for 10 years. Social services had had it before that. Before that, it had been retail, and they had broken up into a lot of spaces, and a lot of people kept catching colds and getting sick, and it got the reputation of being a sick building, but it was really because it was just poorly ventilated. So we heard that there were rumblings that someone was going to have it torn down. And we called up Kyle real quick and said, okay, how does that impact our standing as a new Main Street community? And he was like, not a good look. And I recommend that you apply for the financial feasibility study grant fast. So we did that. And I have no evidence of this, but I do believe that there was a little bit of maybe shepherding that through the channels very fast, because we did receive it. And we were able to institute a study for the building. And you can read about these grants. It saved the building. They did engineering study, architectural renderings, threat studies like mold and asbestos. It includes a market study so that you can know what kind of businesses could fill this successfully. All of this was done. And next slide, please. The renderings of how the building can look, you will see on the right. The market study included a one sheet that was available to prospective investors of just the bullet points of the features of the building. And we are happy to say that last month that building sold. And so, phew, but it would not have. And the folks that bought it have been working with us all along, and they said they want this to continue to be a partnership with Main Street. So we're really proud of that. And it would not have sold as easily if we hadn't had this information available to them, because that in itself was $25,000 worth of research investment that they didn't have to make to let them know what the building's potential was. So just one huge value demonstrated immediately to our community of what Main Street can offer. Next slide. So one of the more recent things that we've done is we got another tourism grant. And I suggest that you make friends with Virginia Tourism and your local tourism organizations. And we were able to employ the same marketing firm again to help us make a brand new website. The town had never had a tourism site. It had just had a few pages on the town website, but that was very much a municipal site. And Onancock Business and Civic Association had a site, but they only put their own members on there, which meant that there were like at some points only 3 businesses on there. It didn't really show you everything Onancock had to offer. So we have this wonderful new tourism site that we were able to make as a hybrid with our Main Street site. So it was kind of something nobody had done before. Virginia Tourism was okay with it as long as the preponderance of it promoted the entire town. So it does promote the whole town on the tourism side, not just our district. But then there's a very good back half of the side that is for our organization. So we're really proud of that. What you're seeing in front of you is part of the RAC card that the Virginia Tourism money also provided for us to get the word out. So that's in all the welcome centers. And now we've applied for another grant that we've gotten to add more features to the site and promote it even more. One of the other things that we've done recently, and this is important because now we've gotten a lot of things done like the branding and saving the Lewiston building, but to keep strong legs under our organization, we need a good sustained funding source. And the town is right there helping, but they can't do it all. So we realized that we still need to get the community to know who we are and what we're doing, because so much of this gets done quietly behind the scenes. So we started a campaign of, we just had an event where we invited big donors and influencers to come, and we told them all about ourselves. We took them on little golf cart tours to show them renderings of different buildings. We've done probably, with Fraser Associates now, we've provided probably about 6 or 8 different building renderings to building homeowners. So, I mean, building business owners. So that was helpful, and they came away very excited, and we ended up with 4 applications for volunteers just from that one 3-hour session. So we also used some COVID relief funds to create a series of videos, 90-second videos about what we're doing, who Main Street is, and what we're doing. So we've got one on just who is Main Street, who is Onancock Main Street, one on what we're doing tourism-wise, promoting the town, one what we're doing with renderings, and we've got 2 more that we will do to complete the series. And those will be linked from our website, but also on YouTube. So it's important for people to know who you are, for your name to be out there in order to help sustain your volunteer recruitment and your funding drives. And if I part with a little bit of advice, it would be, don't get discouraged. You're always going to have people saying that it's not happening fast enough. Some of this takes a couple of years of groundwork, and you have to be, as Kyle said, incremental and sustained and very focused, because you're also going to get people knocking on your door monthly with a brand new idea. And so you have to have confidence in the set of strategies and goals that you've set for yourself, and then of course refresh them as soon as you're finished with those. But you know, pocket those ideas. You always want to keep your relationships happy with your partners and your community. But you know, stay focused and be confident when you tell people it's coming. And let me tell you what we have done, and tell you what you can expect to see soon. So, and keep working those relationships. Always sustain the relationships with your funders and your community partners. Keep coming back to them and reaching out for more. And go to every single Main Street conference. That's the one thing that we did from the start. After Catherine described the first one she went to, we couldn't wait to go to the next 2 in person in Lynchburg and Harrisonburg. They were great, and we came away with our hair on fire, excited. And then we did the virtual ones during COVID, and we went back to the Richmond one last month. And it just, you will make so many friends that are in the same business you're in. You will learn so much, and they're just invaluable. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. That is full of a lot of tidbits. So I want to, because we have a half an hour left. I think it would be valuable to make some changes to our agenda. I'm not so sure that, I'm not confident that breakout groups are the best use of our time. So I'd like to use this time now to engage Janet and ask any questions that you have that might help you out. So I'm going to kick it off, if you don't mind, with a quick question, just to help her summarize the secret sauce. So what are the core factors that helped to get the traction in your revitalization efforts? Who was involved? You know, what would you say was the number one step to get you where you guys are now?
Well, I think the fact that we've got the original board still on board, except for one who moved to Arizona. So there's been a consistency, and then we've brought on, we've probably doubled the size of our board, but we have an agile board. It's everybody that is on and has come on has understood that this wasn't show up and get to vote. This was a working board. And I think we have wonderful conversations. Everybody hears everybody's thoughts and concerns. There's just a sense of collegiality and a sense of we're all pulling in the same direction. Mm-hmm. And I think the relationships, we've worked with Historical Society, the Business and Civic Association, the Historic Onancock School, which is a group that saved a historic school in our town with a large piece of property and filled it with entrepreneurs and artist studios. And they're part of our district. We've worked with VDOT, the folks that run the wharf. So just understanding how many working parts there were and trying to reach out and really, you know, you're coming into a situation where there are going to be people who've already done and been working on things. And to get everybody in alignment takes some work. It's a little bit like herding cats. But it's the best way. You need to concentrate your efforts in that area for a while because it saves negative drama. So I would say it's just our town is special, and all of y'all feel that way about your town. But you know, you start to realize that you're working with a lot of people who love where they are and want to and that it's an investment. Their home is located there. To make the town better makes their home more valuable. It makes life more valuable there. So when you start pointing that out to people, they're even more excited to get on board and start helping. Jenny, what would you add to that? Because Jenny's a lot of the secret sauce right there.
Oh gosh, Janet, I was just thinking how comprehensive you are and what a great memory you have. Janet was here from the beginning, but you said everything so perfectly, just community partnerships and everything that you said.
Great. Jenny also knows exactly how to be nice to the president.
Well, what I'm hearing is that, and this is something that mirrors a lot of what goes on across the designated communities run informal programs, is the valuable return on investment within developing those relationships and really putting time and effort into communications, which means, you know, hey, it's that people side of things, which can be a little troublesome, you know, in some ways, because, you know, if you're working on a design project or a branding project, it's sort of very tangible. And the other stuff can be a little difficult, but it's also the stuff and the relationships that really ends up bringing you the resources that you need to get things done. So just something to keep in mind as you're developing your programs. Yes, you want to have some visual cues that you're making progress, but a lot of effort goes behind the scenes and your relationship development and your planning and your market study and and listening to the communities.
We do have and that visual cue, Kyle, you're right. And I think at first we didn't know just how much we needed to sort of toot our own trumpet a bit.
Yeah.
And because you really do want to hit the ground running, taking credit.
Yeah.
So that essential worker sign, having our name at the bottom of it. We have one of our board members is really good with communications, and she's always trying to get out press releases when things happen. And Jenny does a lot of social media. But we just started something that we could have easily been doing for 2 years, which is we have signs made that go in sandwich boards that say Onancock Main Street welcomes another new business to the downtown, and then there's space at the bottom for their logo and their contact info. And it sits out front for a month and somehow looks like we had something to do with it. And sometimes we didn't at all, but our name is there and we've had people notice that.
Yeah.
So little stuff like that, anywhere you think you can get your name and people knowing who you are and that you're doing something, use it.
That's good. I'd love to open this up to the rest of our audience here, our participants. So feel free to use the hand raising button, and love for you all to engage with Janet and get your questions answered. Or unmute. Since we're so quiet, nobody's like vying for the microphone at this point. Denise, yeah, well, Denise, how about Denise in Halifax? I know that you all have done a project recently funded partially by a community vitality grant. Some of that relates very much to some of the steps that Janet has made. What might you be able to say about the impacts of that project? You still there? Well, Courtney, meanwhile, has a really good question. She says, you mentioned the two top issues, Wi-Fi and vacancy. What progress are you making on those two fronts?
Well, we actually, the Wi-Fi issue is pretty resolved at this point, or pretty close to it. They made some, again, we have had a town council person on our board since we started, which is great. We also have a board member who is a representative on the planning commission. So when we've come back from conferences with ideas for zoning that would help with parking issues or facilitate better accessibility to upstairs housing, they've been able to present that right away to the planning commission. So we did have somebody working almost immediately on the Wi-Fi. And then with the onset of COVID, that became even more important to have these public Wi-Fi areas. So that was resolved early on. The upper story housing had been in the downtown, you need to get a special use permit to develop your upper story. And they have now moved to, actually the planning commission has just approved to send on to council to make it by right. So if you've got space in the upper story of your downtown building, you're able to make it upper story housing. Now what we're trying to do is work with the planning commission to get them to also make sure that there's going to be enough parking on the property for these new residents that will live downtown, because we're already stressed in a couple of places for that. Courtney, was that a good enough answer for you?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and as far as vacancies, of course, you brought up the financial feasibility study, which is a Virginia Main Street product grant program, and use that to really inform a path forward for an underutilized or a building that was in danger of a non-existent future. What are some other things that you all are doing that help to fill those vacancies. And I have some ideas based on some projects that you have planned in the upcoming fiscal year.
Well, we're going to apply for the community business launch next year. We were going to this year, but too many of the prospective properties were in transition on the market, and nobody could commit. And actually, a couple of them were actually being filled as we were talking to the owners. So that was good news. And we put our signs out front real quick to welcome the new business. So and I wanted to mention, Kyle, the new owners of that building are planning on making the upper story housing short stay. And I don't mean Airbnb. We have a brand new hospital near us and a community college. And there's a lot of demand for like those 2 and 3 and 4 month leases. So, and furnished apartments. So that's probably where they're going to head with that. If they see that, they could even have it be shorter stay and be effective, they will. But that's been a need right along. Of course, housing is a need everywhere. And I did see somebody type in a note that I didn't catch, a question. Do you see it?
I think Christina is referring to Leslie talking about their project, or no. Let's see, let me read this. Our largest issue in downtown currently is several white elephant buildings that we are not able to, stop moving, chat, that we're not able to do anything with due to current ownership. Do you have any tips on how to help our community understand why we can't obtain these to fill with retail? It's definitely an uphill climb with them being empty and in major disrepair.
Yeah, the ownership issue was one with ours. And she just was she bought it when it was expensive. She had too much of an idea of its value, and the financial feasibility study helped give her a realistic idea. The first thing we did was form a relationship and say, hey, talk to us about your expectations. When she bought it, she thought she was going to develop it. She had aged 10 years. She wasn't in the mood anymore, wants to move to Arizona, be warm. And so just knowing all of that, start with forming a relationship with the owners, and then bring up, how can we help? What can we do? We know you care about this town because you live here, you've owned buildings here, and getting this into service will help, so much. How can we help? It's just, just start with trying to form a relationship.
Yeah. I think part of that also, Janet, if I might add, is that there's some things that are happening in the background. While you have a white elephant situation in town, you can't let that use up all your focus, strategy, and resources too. And so getting some traction in promoting and making some smaller improvements or even relationships with the other property owners can help to create a little bit of peer pressure. And so, there's a balance within that. And one thing that, Janet, I was trying to get to is that you all are really looking at your entrepreneurial ecosystem. How do you create a supportive environment for your small businesses within the district? Part of that ecosystem is having a downtown that's attractive and functions well, from signage to art installations to sidewalks. Those help to create the environment for future investment and attracting businesses or having them invest in their own business.
Good segue.
Yeah.
So what's happened with, and I think Courtney also texted a question that directed us towards this. So we had a lot of things on the books that we were trying to do. The signage and finding funding for all of that, signage, benches, better lighting, crosswalks, better bathrooms, better public restrooms that were handicapped accessible. And all of a sudden, all this ARPA money has come in, and we do have a fairly new town manager who is way more activist than our previous one. So it's very energizing. And so what he has proposed to do is take a portion of that money and have a town design plan professionally done, which will include a parking study, the signage, we are going to use the logo style package to inform the signage, but all of that wayfinding, public art, the town's already bought a building that they're going to renovate into public restrooms. It's in the dead middle of town, which is wonderful. So all of this is ARPA funding. So in order to align our efforts, we met with the town and have pulled back on projects that the ARPA money will fund once we get that design plan, and refocused our efforts on public art in the way of murals. We took that money that recent money that Kyle's talking about and have started a small murals project. And we've already applied for the next round of funding for that as well, because that's usually on private buildings. So it's not something that the town will do. We're talking to the business owners. They're excited about it. We're going to try, we've accessed a lot of other Main Street communities, see how they've handled it, from the documentation involved to how do you engage the community? How do you find the right artists? So again, all of that support system that's available through Main Street has been helpful. But so that's the project we're working on now, is the 3 small murals to sort of get the community used to having this type of art in their midst. And then there is one huge wall on a side of a playhouse that's been begging for it. And that will, if we get the next round of funding, we'll do that. I'm trying to think what else. Jenny, have I missed something? Oh, and yeah, well, yeah, that's what we're working on right now is our biggest project, and the funding strategy and getting people to know who we are.
Yeah. One resource that I'll share with everybody, since the vacancy issue has come up, Main Street America used to have a publication that they called Main Street Now. Of course, that became the name of their national conference. There's a really good issue that I constantly share about filling vacancies. And it's a great read and helping to generate ideas about how you can influence that and end up bringing some capital to the table, either for the rehabilitation or exploring future use, or even doing things like window clings to generate some excitement, cover up the vacancy issue a little bit and create some excitement about the future and what might fill that space. So there's it's a very well-rounded resource for understanding how to impact that vacancy challenge. So
the other thing, I did miss it, and I know Jenny is going to text me in any minute and say I missed it, was even though we didn't go for the community business launch, we did decide to institute classes, because we've already got one wonderful volunteer who has done this in the past. And yes, see, I knew you were going to tell me, Jenny. and one of the volunteers that just submitted an application from this event that we did last week has the same skill set. So we're putting them together with one of our board members, and they're going to put together a series of courses that we can publicly offer to budding entrepreneurs, to existing businesses who want to, add some vitality. We're even worried about trying to help the next steps for people that are aging out and want to get their building sold, or see how to attract an apprentice or someone who will take the business. And so that is something that we're able to work on right now, and we have the manpower to do.
Yeah. Thank you, Janet. Denise brought up a really great idea, and she's not able to speak at the moment based on her environment where she's located. But Denise, and I would love to hear more about this, they hosted a Better Block event in downtown. The Better Block event is sort of what do you call it, like a urban guerrilla tactic. Where you create a temporary new use space and design within a particular target area. You do a demonstration over a weekend of how these changes can improve the community, but then you pack it up and you move on. But from there, you've had everybody have a tangible experience from experiencing the improvements and what they could do for the community. And ultimately, that helps really pave the way for more permanent infrastructure investments with that area. So Better Block, there was an organization that you contract with. It does cost a lot of money in order for them to run it, but it's doable for a nonprofit organization to take on something like that. So it's definitely something to explore. And Denise, I would love to hear more about that. I'm going to have, let's see, that might be Zachary, reach out to you guys about a blog and sharing that information and that wonderful story with everyone. That's fantastic. Any other questions at this point for Janet? She's really become the star of the show, and Onancock's really become the star, the focus. So we didn't get to do the breakout groups this time, but I encourage you to participate and speak up. So I'm going to do this. You can ask questions, but I'd really love to hear a few wisdom bites about some things that you've learned and how that may inspire some change or give you a path or a clear understanding of maybe moving on to complete a project or resolving a challenge within your community. So just 1 minute wisdom bite, small commitment, but it's an opportunity for you to share a little bit. Would love to hear from a few of you guys with the time that we have left. Maggie, is anything happening in Dayton that you can share with us? A high point experience, something that relates to what Janet's been talking about?
Yeah, actually, I did think of one thing. We do have a group of merchants who has been meeting regularly to kind of take on some of these Main Street type activities. They're in the very early stages. But I thought it was interesting to hear you talk about kind of how to enter or how to navigate entering a space where there are already some of those activities going on, and how you can kind of work with them to not compete with them, but just bring them in and work with them. So.
You know, Maggie, it's interesting if the actual business owners are doing this too, because one of the things that we found is that what's desired is that there be later hours or extended weekend hours, and everybody in the world can keep asking for that. But if the business owners don't want to do it and don't, as a critical mass, kind of commit to doing it for a period of time long enough to, see if it's really going to work, then it just doesn't happen. So if the business owners are the ones that are actually getting together and exploring this, then you've got a better chance of that happening, which is great.
Janet, this is Roy over in Urbana.
Hey.
We are the town manager who's sitting here with me and our planning commission chairman are about to take a road trip, and we'd like to come over and meet you. So believe me, you're going to see us within a month.
Great.
If that's all right with you, because we are just getting started on this. And, we had one incubator activity that was very much like what you talked about, just, the thought wall and everything like that. But what you have done sounds amazingly like what we think we need. And our business association is kind of dull right now. We got to pump it back up. And your business and civic association is kind of what we need. We don't really want the town council, the town government, to be pushing this. We want it to be more of a community activity. So it sounds a lot like what you've got going, and believe me, we'll get to you if that's all right.
Well, I'd also recommend Cape Charles. Cape Charles is about a year and a half ahead of us, and they're very smart. They've done a lot of smart things, and they were already doing this when we got started, and they shared with us some really valuable information, the processes that they were going through. And they have sort of exploded now. They've got most of their businesses filled. The town is very vibrant. They've actually got problems because of how busy they are. And are like, sometimes we wish we were in Onancock. It was a little quieter. So I would definitely access them and talk to them as well. And we're sort of telling people, how Cape Charles exploded 2 years ago? Give us till next summer and you're going to be shocked, because hopefully that building will finally be revitalized and it'll change the downtown. So definitely, Roy, reach out to them as well for help.
Yeah.
Sounds
Roy,
great.
that's a great idea. I'm so glad you brought that up. That's something, a See the Possible tour, and that term is from Danville. From what I know, I'm sure that is an industry term, but See the Possible tour. And this is something that folks in Danville do to go visit other communities. They go all over the US and bring a contingent of folks to visit communities that have share some similar vision, destination, a similar future. And so they go and see how they accomplish this. And that kind of takeaway is very inspiring and an easy way to bring back some new ideas. So I encourage that on a local scale. Now, Urbana, you got to fly across the bay a little bit, but as the crow flies, you're just like a half an hour, I'm sure, from Onancock. But boy, doing that little trek down and back up. Woo! Hopefully you've got a friend with a boat.
Well, we may have to do it that way. All right. Well, thank you very much. This is a very, very helpful.
Good. Thanks, Roy. Anything else? We still have a few more minutes. Anything else from folks? A takeaway? A question for Janet? Blake, go for it.
Hey, Janet. First off, thanks for all that you shared. Down here in Norton, we have not become an official organization yet, but we have a really great group of people, both from the business community and residential community, just really passionate about seeing some growth and vitality in our downtown. That it really has just for our small population, it's quite a big, I mean, it's a small city, but we have a lot of potential as far as buildings and structures already there that just need some life into them. But I appreciated that you shared kind of how you engaged your board and kind of the formation of your organization, because that's kind of where we find ourselves. I'm certainly trying to lead this group to come together, but we're at a place where a lot of people just need some direction and some things to get their hands dirty with, so to speak. So thank you for sharing that. And that's kind of where we find ourselves right now. And I don't know if you have any just like tidbits or anything to add as far as that group forms, how to arm people with some tasks or some ideas just to get them engaged even further and feel like they're really kind of becoming a part of this as it forms.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I said before, when I said we were a very collaborative group and nobody was afraid to speak in our meetings for fear of, being told, well, that's not a good idea or anything. Everybody was heard, but everybody was also willing to back off of their idea if it wasn't landing with the rest, So I think the most important thing is to really be sure you've got as much input as possible from your entire community so that they begin to trust when you all choose your goals, that they've been heard and that it reflects what they're desiring for their community at large. The last thing you want to be seen as is some sort of a little backroom group that's making choices for the whole community. And then you put that out there with your, form your mission and your vision and your goals and make them public. And I think that will help you, stay focused on the task at hand. And good luck, Blake. It's not scary. It's just make it fun.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And thank you for that direction. That's incredible stuff.
Blake, there's a really good resource from Main Street America on community engagement. It gives all sorts of great ideas about how to get that input from the community. And a lot of it is really fun. It's, you know, it doesn't have to be an event that is specifically for the data gathering or talking to people, collecting their ideas. It could be a big chalkboard at an existing event and start collecting that information about what people want. It's about asking a really good question about what people see for the future of their community. And so there's some really fun ideas in that. So it sounds like I've got a couple of resources that I'm going to attach to my follow-up with all of you.
Please,
Blake,
So
I've
that-
even heard
I think
of,
you'll like that.
I've even heard of people putting out, you know, right on coasters in the restaurants and the pubs.
Yeah.
And, you know, the front of it says, you know, what's the one thing you want to see in your community? And they write it on the back, and you just collect them once a week or once a month from the pub. So you can find out a whole lot of ways what your community wants. And you need to know what visitors want as well.
That's right. That's right. Very good.
I love that. Thank you.
Well, it's 12:15 already, which blows my mind. And we really had, you know, hey, it pays to be able to pivot in a situation like this and be able to adapt quickly. I think we had some really wonderful information to hear and helping you all plot your future and think about some problem solving. So with that, I want to jump to just some closing. This is the whole crew at Virginia Main Street. We've expanded, we're growing, we're bursting at the seams. So there's a lot of resources and people that you can connect to. So these contacts will be at the end of the slide deck that I share with you. So the assignments for the regions might change as far as the Virginia Main Street reps in the future. So just be ready, but you can reach out to any one of us and we can help you out. And then just know that there's a lot of other resources within our Economic Development and Community Vitality Office. And so we've got Go Virginia, the Industrial Revitalization Fund, Virginia Enterprise Zones. These are all resources to help advance your economic development opportunities within your community. So you've got a whole gaggle of people that you could reach out to if you have questions about this. But expect an email from me following up. I'll share a couple of these resources that I talked about. Please reach out if you have any additional questions for Janet or for any of the Virginia Main Street team. And we appreciate you being here today and making time out of your busy schedule to connect. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.